I'm Tamara, and I am responding to the Critical Discourse panel, Art and Tech, Inc. And one of the things that I was impressed by was this discussion about sustainability used instead of profitability, and what that says about our kind of lingering romantic ideas about art and money, and how they should never be mentioned in the same breath, and that there's something compelling about the fact that we won't use profit, that sustainability is used instead. And I think that this opens up broader questions about how artists value themselves, about how we use language, about how society views artists or values artists. And one of the things mentioned was that if an artist calls himself a designer or business person, or calls their art enterprise or studio practice a business, that there's a greater likelihood that they'll be better reimbursed and compensated for their work. So that was something that I thought was very compelling, and the fact that the name of the company was the security gift shop, or privacy gift shop, was really clever, because there's nothing highbrow about a gift shop at all. He could have given it some number, something kind of mysterious, or he could have called it the factory or the privacy factory, and instead he calls it a gift shop, which has associations with really lowbrow. This is kind of the most unremarkable aspect of museums, the gift shops with their postcards and Christmas ornaments and so forth. So I thought that was a interesting way to kind of play up on that dichotomy that we have with art and money.
This conversation was really interesting to me because it mixes two different worlds that I'm in right now. It mixes the industry that I work in. I work in web design and development, and then it also mixes this other world of creativity and art and being an artist and in creating things. And so I think one of the most interesting parts of the conversation to me was when Heather started talking about rhizome, if I'm saying it right, and just displaying the mix of a web media, a piece of art on the internet or offline, but as a gallery, as a form of art. So how do you display a website in a gallery? How do you validate that website or that URL as a piece of art? So that I think I'm still processing that a little bit, but that was probably one of the most interesting parts of that conversation. Just because I can take that back to both of my worlds and in my industry, where that is something that we get paid for, but it's not something that's put in a gallery. And then that other world where that world where I'm creating work, I'm creating art, but not always it's not always validated as something that could be purchased. And that was a quote that what Adam Harvey said was, well, it's not a quote, I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he had mentioned something about how it's crazy how the way that you label yourself, whether it's a designer or an engineer, can be way different than how people perceive you when you label yourself as an artist. And so those were just a few things that really stuck out to me and made this conversation just extremely, extremely interesting. So, yeah, thank you.
The reason I came was I was interested in what the new museum and the new ink was all about, because I work a little bit on the internet and I do traditional drawing and painting. And my internet is partly a website, but also an imaginary island nation that I've been playing with, and I'm wondering how that can fit into this new world of not just paintings on the wall. Because that is it's hard to make a living doing just paintings on the wall these days. So this is more interactive, where the Island Project allows people to be part of it. They can own land on the island. They can use the money. It's like an ordinary little country. It has its own history, culture, landscape. And so there's this website that's a blog. I'm just building it little by little. And I hope it can find a way into other media, maybe movies as a backstory. Or some people mentioned games. I don't know how that would work, but another backstory.
Did you hear anything tonight that that really piqued your interest, or that that seemed particularly relevant to your project?
Well, just the fact that it's happening, that this new group has started this new ink next to the new museum, which I've heard of. I've never seen it, but I think that's exciting, and they have great energy. And I know about Kickstarter. I had a successful project of my own just this spring, an art book about my work on Kickstarter. So that's cool. They're using that thing too.
So I'm interested in the concept of being a disruptor and this disruption that they talked about tonight between art and business, and how calculated are you? What are the ends of that disruption? Does this disruption, is it intended to cause the demise of the thing that you're disrupting? Is it just intended to cause them to change? And at what point do you say disruption accomplished? And I think that the conversation around profitability being a bad word, I think those two things are connected when you have potentially your ability to disrupt is compromised by your willingness to profit. And if your disruptor is willing to hand you that profit and then essentially silence that. So I think those concepts around profitability and what the intent of your disruption is connected, and that's why I like the concept of a sustainable business practice, where you know that if an influx of profitability is going to hit you and it's outside that margin of what you need to be sustainable, is that actually going to affect your ability to continue to be disruptive?
I came in late, and I found it interesting as I was trying to catch up, that I'm not even sure what her name is, the middle girl said, I understand that she has a startup, a year-long help for artists that need to have an audience, peers, some help with mentors, I guess. I thought that was a very good program, or a very good idea.
Well, coming from an institutional background, I think it's really important that museums alike and institutions get on board with technology. I think I did agree with them that they stated a lot of these institutions are far behind. And in order to, when you think about funding and development and reaching a younger generation and a younger demographic of people, you need to think about technology and you need to start implementing those practices right now. So that's something that definitely struck a chord with me throughout this panel, and also just hearing about the innovative ways you can put together think tanks and incubators in a museum setting and exchange these ideas. And it's always amazing what can come out of that when you get people together, collective people together with collective ideas, sharing and creating something. So I'm really excited to see what comes out of this program, a new museum.
I really didn't know what to expect. I was invited to this and I thought this is going to be way out there, and I didn't know what to expect. And I was pleasantly surprised about the discussion of creativity and how outside the box these people are thinking. I mean, it was just a hoot to, I mean, they're thinking about things that you don't think about on not normal people. People that aren't in that realm don't even consider. And they're in it so deeply and so passionate about it. It was fun, it was exhilarating. And then the gentleman with the surveillance privacy thing, it's like, no wonder the Pentagon wants to talk to him. I mean, and I asked him later, how did he get down that road? And it was in photography and imagery and so on, and he kind of went off from that, and it was just very fun and thought-provoking.
All right.
Okay,
That's perfect.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank